Peace. This is Jamal Robinson with 720astrology.com. Today's date is February 25th, 2024. At the time of recording this, it is 10:18 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I missed the full moon as far as getting my video out. Had a full presentation ready to discuss the full moon. It just didn't happen. But I'm going to be releasing the video after this one that will show what I was doing to lead up to the full moon and how it concluded around the time of the full moon. So today we're going to talk about Mercury, which is in quite a little bind. Mercury, which rules both signs, Virgo and Gemini, is currently in detriment because it is in the sign opposite one of its domiciles. It is in Pisces. So that means it's in detriment or it's in exile. In addition to that, Mercury is combusts the sun. So it is only 2 degrees away from the sun. So that's considered to be in the beams. It's being burned up by the sun's rays, and that can affect Mercury's operations. Now, when Mercury got to around 28 degrees of Aquarius on the 22nd, we got the first news of the cell phone outages around the country. I think it affected customers with AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon, as far as I know. Now, at that time, I think the sun was at around maybe 5 degrees, maybe 4 degrees, 4 or 5 degrees of Pisces. So we see, what was that? That was about a 6, 7 degree orb. And so I would imagine that part of that outage had something to do with Mercury's combustion. Um, in addition to that, there was news of solar flares. So I think it's possible that there's a combination of those things that influence this situation. Now, we're going to look at, though, in this little presentation, we're going to look at the Hindu deity Hanuman. And Hanuman coincides with Mercury, also coincides with the African deities Legba, Ishu. All of these are basically they're parallels to each other in different cultures. I'm going to read a well-known story about the little god Hanuman. And I think in this story, we will see parallels with the experiences of Mercury when it is combust the sun, for one, and when it's in detriment. Just as a footnote, Mercury is never more than 28 degrees away from the sun. So Mercury is always chasing the sun or just in front of it. It's always hanging around the sun, no more than 28 degrees. It's just that when it's combust, it is really, really close to the sun. And then it starts to get uh, symbolically, and we could even say literally, burned up by the sun's rays. Mercury deals with communication. Mercury deals with thinking. Mercury deals with short distance travel. Mercury deals with transactions, it's commerce. So, and Mercury is also about the ability to see what is immediately around us. Mercury carries messages from Earth to Mount Olympus. So, Mercury is very fast, swift. And so, we're talking about the operations of the mind. And so when Mercury's in a condition like this, where it's combust the sun and it's in detriment in Pisces, it can almost give the response of like a fried circuitry. And like I always say, pay attention to your city, to people driving. You're seeing people are already getting more aggressive anyway with driving. But what I noticed when this aspect started forming, the combustion, is people almost stopping in the middle of roads, stopping on the highway, turning into traffic, and then crossing all the traffic with no regard to oncoming traffic, like you may get hit. So it's the aggression's always there, but this is not, I haven't been witnessing as much aggression as I have confusion. People seem seemingly not aware of their surroundings, not aware of where they're going, and to be seemingly lost. And then when you drive by and look at them, it's like they're either on the phone and it's like they're trying to find where they're going. And the light turns green, they're not moving, they're sitting. It's as if they're not aware that they're not present in the moment. So these are some things that line up with Mercury being in Pisces. But without further ado, I'll go to the story of Hanuman the Monkey God. I'm reading from Hanuman, The Devotion and Power of the Monkey God. And I'm going to go to chapter 5. One of the names for Hanuman is Maruti. So the title of this chapter is Maruti, Flight to the Sun. Indeed, having both Shiva and Vayu as his illustrious fathers, Maruti was no ordinary child. He was restless, spirited, energetic, and inquisitive. He was obviously endowed with awesome strength, and the scriptures abound in tales expounding his remarkable feats. One of his most remarkable feats, recounted in all his tales, has to do with his jump to the sun. In fact, this amazing achievement is the one that gave him his most popular name, Hanuman. The baby was a voracious eater. His appetite could never be totally appeased. The poor parents did their best to satisfy him, but he was never completely satisfied and was always demanding more food. By the time he was a year old, he started climbing and eating all the fruit in the surrounding area. One day, Anjana took him with her to the river and allowed him to do whatever mischief he wanted on the banks while she had her bath. After having eaten as many fruits and shoots from the trees as he could, he was still hungry. Suddenly, he spied the huge orange orb of the sun rising in the sky and thought to himself that this must be an exceptionally big type of fruit. He called out to his mother to come and have a look at this new fruit. She thought that it must be some fruit on a tree and told him to go for it. Undaunted, the child gave a magnificent leap and soared up to the sky toward the orb of the sun. When Anjana came out of the river after her bath, she couldn't see her son and looked anxiously for him. At last, she spied him flying toward the sun. She shouted to Kasari to come and see what their son was up to. He jumped toward the little fellow to try and catch him, but was unable to do so and fell back dejected. The parents didn't know what they should do now. The celestials watched his progress with wonder. Neither the wind god nor Garuda, or even the mind, can move as swiftly as this son of Vayu. If this is his speed as a mere babe, what will be his speed when it becomes a youth? The wind god was closely following him to protect him from the danger of getting scorched. The sun god realized that he was an innocent child. He also knew of the great purpose that Lord Vishnu, in his form as Rama, would accomplish through him, and thus he did not harm him. Unfortunately, that day happened to coincide with the day of the solar eclipse, when Rahu, the north node of the moon, associated with malefic forces, was supposed to swallow the sun. Suddenly, Maruti saw Rahu shaped like a serpent, making his way toward the sun in order to devour him. Mistaking him for a huge worm, the inquisitive monkey dashed toward him and attempted to catch hold of his tail. Rahu fled for his life and sought shelter at the feet of Indra, the lord of the gods. He spoke angrily to Indra. You have allotted the sun and the moon to me for appeasing my hunger on certain days, and now I find that my share has been given over to some other creature. Today is the night of the new moon, and this is the day on which I have been told to devour the sun. Now look what's happened. Here comes another creature to thwart me. Indra picked up his deadly thunderbolt, mounted his white elephant named Aravata, and went toward the impudent monkey. The clouds rumbled and lightning thundered across the vast skies in an expression of Indra's wrath. But neither this scary scenario nor the mighty armed Indra in his high mount was sufficient to induce even a trace of fear in the heart of the little monkey. On the contrary, the spectacle only added fuel to his excitement. He decided that an elephant was just what he needed as a vehicle and tried to grab it. He caught hold of its trunk and leaped on his back, taken aback by the sudden appearance of a baby monkey behind him. Indra was all set to strike him with his thunderbolt. Vayu arrived on the scene at this opportune moment and tried to stop him, but Indra was not to be deterred. He is only a child. What sort of god are you that you are prepared to wage war against a small child? Indra retorted, he may be a child, but he tried to swallow Surya and catch hold of Rahu, and I merely came to their aid. Vayu did his best to dissuade him, but Indra hit Maruti on the chin with his bolt and left a mark on it forever. Hence, Anjana's child got the name Hanuman. Hanu means chin in Sanskrit, but even Indra's thunderbolt was unable to kill him, although the impact threw him off the back of the elephant. As he hurled through the air, unconscious, his father Vayu sprang to his rescue and caught him in midair. The sight of his beloved son lying helpless in his arms infuriated the wind god. He drew in a mighty breath and sucked away all the air from the cosmos. But all those who have harmed Anjana's son choked to death, he thought out aloud. Vayu went into seclusion, taking the atmosphere with him. All living beings began to get asphyxiated. There was panic in the cosmos. Without air, life on every level was threatened. Nothing stirred in the universe. The recitation of the Vedas by the Brahmins ceased, and the stomachs of the gods began to shrink. Anjana and Kasari waited in vain for their child to return to them from the sky. When there was no sign of him, they started to weep and beat their breasts in sorrow. Ha Shiva, ha Parvati, we have to go through so much of trouble to get a son, and now he has been cruelly parted from us. What have we done to deserve this? Seeing their sorrow, Vayu appeared before them and comforted them. Your son is safe with me. I'm keeping him with me for some time in order to teach Indra and the other gods a lesson. Don't worry, I'll bring him back to you safely. Hearing this assurance, the parents were pacified. However, since Vayu, the wind god, refused to blow anymore, the whole earth started to suffer. Unable to breathe, creatures started to suffocate and die. Very soon, it looked as if the whole earth, the whole world, would perish. Indra felt very sorry for his impetuous deed. He knew that he alone was responsible for the whole thing. He should have desisted from using his thunderbolt, even though he had been egged on by Rahu. All the gods now ran around desperately trying to find out the whereabouts of Vayu. He could be found nowhere. They ran to Shiva and Vishnu and begged for their help. They were aware of everything and knew exactly where Vayu was hiding the child. They went to the underworld along with Brahma. Vayu was very happy to see them and prostrated himself. He told them the whole story of how his son had been ill-treated by Indra and Surya. Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu pacified him, and all the gods gave him many blessings. As soon as Brahma touched him, Maruti revived. Now all the gods vied with each other to give him boons. Indra took off his garland of lotus flowers and placed it around the baby's neck and said, since his infant's chin has been broken by my thunderbolt, he shall in the future be known as Hanuman, one who has a disfigured chin. He will also be invulnerable to my thunderbolt. The sun god now said, I bestow on him 100th part of my brilliance. Moreover, when the time comes for him to study, I myself shall impart the knowledge of all the Vedas and Shastras to him. There would be none superior to him in the knowledge of the Shastras. Varuna, the god of waters, gave him the boon that he would never need to have any fear from water. Agni, the god of fire, promised never to harm him. Yama, the god of death, now said that he would be immune to all diseases and would never come under his sway, and that he would have the ability to choose the time of his death. Kubera, the king of the Yakshas, said that his mace would never be able to kill him in war, and that he would always remain unwearied during battle. Shiva gave him the supreme boon that he would be a Chiranjeevi and would never be able to be killed by any of his weapons. Viswakarma, the divine architect, now pronounced that he would be impervious to any weapon made by him. Brahma gave him another boon, that he could never be killed by the Brahmastra, the weapon that bore his name, and also gave him physical immortality for the duration of a cosmic eon. Turning to the wind god, he said, "Your son will be invincible. He will be the terror of his foes and give freedom from fear to his friends. He will be able to change his form at will and go wherever he pleases with the speed of his choice. Whatever he does will turn out to be glorious." Vishnu now turned to the wind god and said, "This son of yours will become a great Vishnu Bhakta. No one will be able to vanquish him. He will be like a brother to my Avatara, as Rama and his wife Sita, who is Lakshmi incarnate." All the gods now said that there would be no one on earth or in heaven that could equal Maruti in strength and speed. Brahma concluded the session by bestowing on Hanuman a strength greater than even Vayu and Garuda, and endowed him with a speed faster than even the mightiest wind. After receiving blessings from all the gods, Vayu returned to triumph to the earthly regions, whence all creatures revived and started to breathe normally once again. Vayu took Hanuman to his earthly parents and related the whole story to them. They were delighted to hear of the wondrous boons their dear son had acquired. They were also happy to hear his new name, though not so happy to see the mark on his chin. However, they decided that it suited him. So this is one variation of the story. There is so much in there that we can glean. He is one, he's innocent. He's without poison, because innocent comes from the word in to be nascent is from noxious. So that's poisonous. So he's without poison. When Mercury is in exile or detriment in Pisces, Pisces can be poison. Pisces can be toxins. Pisces is where the mind is dissolved. Mercury, the mind. Pisces, mutable water. It can be dissolved. It can be scattered. But in the midst of that scattering, which can be chaotic, there is a certain order, a divine order there, because Pisces is also the sign of fusion, that scattering is the result of a fusion with everything there is. And so we see that when after Hanuman is injured from his strike to the chin, that he then recovers by being given all these boons. So all of those awards he's got, things he's rewarded with, would be possibly things that he's in contact with in his detriment, but he does not identify with. Hanuman had no identity before his calamity. He's just chasing the sun. After his injury and Vayu taking breath away, and then the restoration of breath, Hanuman comes out with an identity. After Mercury completes its journey through Pisces, which is the dissolving of any identity, while also fusing with everything there is, Mercury moves into Aries, the sign of identity. So this story works for Mercury in detriment in both signs, that it's in exile. He's in exile in Sagittarius. He's in exile in Pisces, because Indra is Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius, but Jupiter is also the traditional ruler of Pisces. So it could work for either, but here we're looking at the Piscean based on where Mercury's transiting at the moment. So there's the innocence. There is so much more we can say about this, but I want to talk about the chin. Why the chin? My interest peaked with why the chin. So I want to share one of my little secret resources or reference books here. This is a 2-volume set, The Interpretation of Language. It's by Theodore Thas Heinemann. But this is the 2-volume set, one of my most treasured books. And this is volume 1 with the subtitle Understanding the Symbolic Meaning of Language. Now, I was lucky enough to discover that he talks about the symbolism of the chin here. And I'm going to try to make sense of this. I'm going to read a few passages out of here. Linguistic evidences show that the words for chin, cheek, and jaw are taken from the genital complex, which denoted the knee. Thus, in Greek, genus means jaw and chin, and genean, cheek. In Latin, gena means cheek. These words are in one way or another derivatives of the gene, geno, phonemic pattern, which was used to denote the generation of life. Generation of life. Okay. Now, he goes on to say the Greek gonu, the Latin genu, for knee on the one hand, and the Greek genus, jaw, chin, Ghanaian cheek on the other. The teeth encased in this box. Well, I'll go here. He says the jaw is in German a box, kin lady, chin box. This holds true also for the Latin capsis, box, which developed in Spanish as gujada, jaw, and cheek. What does this jaw chin box contain? Obviously, the teeth. The teeth encased in this box are significant because they have proven to be the part of the body which outlasts even the skeleton. Okay. And you know, if you got someone who's a burn victim who's deceased and they were burned, one thing that they'll look at is dental records to try to identify the person. So there's something here in this story about the jaw. If we go back linguistically, the jaw tracing back to the chin box or the jaw box, and the jaw containing the teeth, which by them outlasting the lifespan, there's something here about everlasting life. So Hanuman is also coincides with the Christ energy, death, burial, resurrection, everlasting life. So the injury in the jaw opens the doorway to him becoming immortal. To go further, he talks, the author says, according to the popular belief, someone has to die before a new life can be conceived. Conceived in the box, which is in many languages identified with the womb. Okay, so to make sense of this, if the jaw coincides with the chin and the knee, you think about the jaw complex allows us to consume food that has life-giving properties, revitalizes us. The knee allows, if you look at old pictures of, go look for the Venus of Willendorf, and you'll see it's a picture of a woman who's squatting, which means she has to flex the knee. And this is the traditional way of giving birth. The mother squats. The way that it's done now is not, that is a modern way of uh, delivering a child. And the traditional way is for the mother to squat. So in the squatting, she is able to bring life into reality. So there's a genitive, any word that has gen in it, or gn is talking about creation and life. So that geno root, where we get the words gene, gene, generation, genesis. I can't think right now of others, but all these words are talking about creation. So this is a means of creation. It also says then that the jaw, which is the complex that directs our speaking, that what is Mercury, which is Hanuman. Hanuman is also communication, that through being able to speak, we create. By being able to eat, we create. And then the knee complex, being able to bend, we create. Because the bending of the knee is also involved in the sex act. And then it's also involved in bringing forth the child into the world. So this story has, as all mythologies do, has layers and layers to unpack, which it gives us more things to think about Mercury's transit through Pisces. Because Mercury, although in detriment in Pisces, this is an opportunity to be creative. And creative is what the term, the gene root, GEN, GN, gnosis, knowledge. It's all about creation. So Mercury in Pisces has the opportunity to be ultra creative because the humdrum 1, 2, 3 way of doing things right now may not be working. Like I started off, I said I had plans. Listen to that word, plans. Good luck with plans while Mercury's transiting through Pisces. Your plans may be foiled, which may force you to be creative in your approach to planning. This whole video is birthed out of the failure of I had no plans of doing a video on Hanuman and Mercury. I was going to incorporate Mercury's detriment and combustion into the full moon video, but that didn't. You see how that worked out? So it triggered the creative juices to approach this a whole different way. And this is, I love Bernadette Brady, how and I saw a video with her where she said, debilitated planets, like in your birth chart, when you have debilitated planets, it's an opportunity to think outside the box. It's not like we shouldn't approach it as you're doomed. You have planets in detriment. It's an opportunity to be creative. So we got a major detriment here with Mercury in exile in Pisces and combust the sun, like frazzled. So I want to read some things I had written down, just some ways of approaching this that I wrote for the full moon. I said Mercury combust and in detriment. There's a need for deliberate action. Although this may be harder to accomplish, here are some ways to proceed. Make a list of things to do. 2. Talk to yourself, even more so than normal. 3. Jot down crazy ideas, thoughts, dreams, etc. 4. Make sure you're taking your multi-minerals and electrolytes because Mercury is partly dealing with our nervous system. And if you put a radio in water, zzz, so your minerals have a lot to do with your electromagnetic balancing within the body. So electrolytes and minerals, want to make sure we're up on that. 5, help to provide yourself with mental clarity by organizing your environment. That's the video I'm going to post later on. I'm going to show you the before and after of our garage. Because although I missed my opportunity to do the video, when I tell you we feel so accomplished because there's so much confusing type of energy in the air, to be able to do something that brings some semblance of order is of the utmost importance. It can affect your health. The environment you live in can impact your health. If you live in chaos, then it can infuse your vessel with chaos because as above, so below, as within, so without. So right now, we've got Mercury combust the sun. The sun is conjunct Saturn, and we have Jupiter in a semi-square to Neptune. I'll share the chart real quick. I wasn't going to do this, but let's just, okay, here we go. We've got here's Mercury. As you see, it's combust the sun, and they're both basically conjunct Saturn. Then we have Neptune in a semi-square to Jupiter. Illusion. That's another part of the story with Hanuman. He was fooled by the illusion. Things were not as they seemed. He was chasing the sun, thinking it was a piece of fruit. This can be a thing now with Jupiter in semi-square to Neptune. Ch- chasing a piece of fruit that's really a sun that will burn you up. So I think this is that balancing act we always got to be looking for when we're assessing astrological aspects. Yes, Mercury in Pisces gives us a great opportunity to be creative and to approach things in an out of the box manner, be flexible. But on the same token, there's a need to not get caught up in an illusion and to be delusional and to be irrational. That's the danger here. And I think the saving grace right now is Saturn. Saturn gets maligned for being a party pooper, a killjoy, destroying all the fun. But we need the regulatory strictness of Saturn to keep us balanced and keep us grounded. And Saturn's here, it seems to be, it's helping to mitigate the confusion. So the efforts we took to get our garage in order and things of that nature, yeah, they were important. Subtle things that may seem to have no impact on the rest of your life are always significant. It's the subtle that has greater influence than the profane or the so-called superior. It's the subtle, the small things, because we have these bodies that everyone can see, but it's the subtle energy, it's the cellular energy that we can't see, which governs how this functions, how it appears. So you want to think about now dealing with those small things that may seem insignificant. Every little win counts. Even if you get the inside of your car cleaned out, or ladies, clear out your purse. Guys, clean your sock drawer up. Straighten all this little small things that may seem so insignificant. Every win counts, especially now with all this confusion, because you want to do what you can do to add order to your life. All right. I think I'm going to stop there. There's so much more, as always, that we could go into, but Hanuman brings back to mind the creative power that we possess, the creative power of the mind and the sovereignty of the mind. The Kabbalion, the first axiom, the mind is all and all is mental. At the end of the story with Hanuman, all of the major gods come and give props and power to the mind. That's the ultimate thing of the theme of the story, is that in the end, the mind is given dominion over everything. That if the mind is strong enough, nothing, no weapon can form against it. Imagine the world that you would desire to live in. Imagine it. Because if you can imagine it and see it, then it exists. All power was given to Hanuman, which is Mercury, which is the mind. For private readings, I'm available through my website, 720astrology.com. Know the stars to know yourself. Peace.